Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast, Welcome to Livingston, where we invite local businesses, people, and organizations in to talk about what they are giving to our community. My name is Don Paquette.
And I'm Angela Paquette, and we're with the Paquette Group Real Estate Professionals. As realtors and brokerage owners, we bring valuable insight into the local market and community every week.
Thanks for listening, and welcome to Livingston. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of our podcast, Welcome to Livingston, where we invite local businesses on to tell us what they are up to in the community. My name is Don Paquette.
And I'm Angela Paquette, and we're with the Paquette Group Real Estate Professionals.
Yes, and we are so excited about today's episode. But before we get started, I just want to take a moment to talk about our sponsor. So today's episode of the Welcome to Livingston podcast is brought to you by our valued sponsor, Jim Paquette with Lake Michigan Credit Union. He is a trusted mortgage lender who has lived and worked in our community for many years. Jim is dedicated to helping our neighbors achieve their homeownership dreams and is proud to support the local businesses that make our area special. And we're just super excited to have him involved.
Yeah, so he's a great guy, and his support really means a lot. So it's nice to be able to do this week in and week out and feature some of our favorite businesses. And so excited today that we have Spicer Orchards with us. So welcome, ladies. Do you want to go ahead and introduce the guests?
Yes, so today with Spicer Orchards, we have Shannon, Rowe, and Kalan. Thank you both for coming in today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome. That, we moved here in 2002, and I think you guys have already been here a long time anyway, right?
Yeah. So our farm was founded in 1967 by my parents, Alan and Wanda Spicer, and I'm the next generation as they have moved into what they like to call semi-retirement. So my brother and I and our extended family and children have all taken on the farm and major roles. And so we hope to continue forward a long time into the future.
Oh, that's wonderful, because you guys really are a Livingston County tradition. And so not all businesses are as lucky as you guys are, that the family is really involved and continuing from one generation to the next.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for people who don't know what Spicer's Orchard out there is, what is Spicer's Orchard?
Traditionally, we are a pick-your-own farm operation with lots of different fruits that we offer beginning in June with our last crop in the middle of November or so. But we also have lots of other activities that go along with that, like cider and donuts, and we have a winery and a brewery. And then we have some events, too. We host a 5K run and a hard cider run, a pumpkin run, and we have other events, too, like a Christmas event with Santa. And so it's kind of grown from this, small pick-your-own farm into a cider mill and a destination in Livingston County.
Great. And you guys are up kind of on the north side of the county, really. Right?
Yeah. Yep. We're up north of Heartland there, right north of M59, about 4 miles at exit 70. We're right off the expressway, so it's super easy to get to us.
Wonderful. And I know a lot of people, what they know of you, there's so many things all year long. But in the fall, you guys are incredibly busy.
That's true. That's one of our biggest challenges is trying to keep the small family farm feel, but still be able to provide something for everyone. And that's certainly a challenge, but I think that we've done a pretty good job of trying to grow our infrastructure so that we can manage having all these people who really want that fall tradition and to go pick your own apples and to have the cider, to be able to experience that for everyone.
So I know you mentioned the U-Pick. I think that is one of the first things our kids did at Spicer's, right?
Right. Well, I think there were some field trips involved, like at the preschool and even in terms of school field trips.
Yeah. So how does that work, though? How does the U-Pick function for people coming out and they're going to, they're going to get their berries, their strawberries.
Something fun to do. Maybe they have little kids, or maybe, they just want something to do that's different.
You come on out. We'll take you out on a wagon ride, and you get to fill up your container when you pick. We start with strawberries, and then we go with raspberries, blueberries, all the way to apples and pumpkins.
Awesome. How long is each season? Is it like a week or 2 weeks? Or, obviously it depends, but...
We love to credit Mother Nature every year. She's kind of tricky on us, but typically it's a good about 3 weeks for each crop. Yep.
Cool.
Right. And I remember doing it with our kids, going out there, and they're doing I don't know if it was the strawberries or the blueberries the first time we went out there, but it's for anyone out there, it's a really fun activity. And it's, they're picking and they're eating and they're picking.
Well, I love it when you see it all over their faces, especially like strawberries. When you go out to the strawberry field and their hands are red and their faces are red. And that's kind of the thing that really makes it magical and what makes a memory forever is, you get the picture of, down in the strawberry fields picking and you've got the strawberry half in your mouth and it's running down your face. And those are the pictures that you see people post. And it really is truly that experience. And it's cool because you get to take the wagon ride out no matter which crop you're picking. And then when you get back, and you enjoy the cider and the donuts or the ice cream or something like that, or, slushies. And so it really is a nice outing for a family because you get to connect with nature. You get to enjoy the fruit that you picked. But then there's also
it comes from.
Yeah.
That's huge, especially with our field trips, seeing where it comes from, getting to pick it yourself and going out there.
Yeah, kind of having an education because a lot of people, are a little disconnected from farming these days. People don't have the experience of growing. And so they learn that when they come to the farm to see, how the process works and beginning to end the growth of that. And then at the end they can sit around and have donuts and drink some cider and they've had a valuable day because not only did they get the experience, but they also got to enjoy the fruit of their labors.
Right. Yeah, literally.
Yep.
And even when you think about it, I mean, for over 50 years, you guys have been helping our whole community make these special memories, right? With their families, with their friends. Just making such a big difference because I'll tell you, just about anybody that's lived here a little while has great memories of going to Spicer's. It's a big deal.
It's kind of fun. We have this apple down in our playground area that's like a growth chart. I cannot tell you how many seniors will come with their moms and is the apple out? We were here when he was in preschool and now he's graduating. We want to put him next to the apple. He's so tall.
Wow.
It's so funny that really is a connection that people make.
Right. And I know you mentioned like the playground area and the things you have back there. I wanted to talk about that a little bit because people don't realize how nice an outing it is to just take your kids out there and there's different things for you guys to do while you're out there.
It's not a typical playground at all.
No.
And it's different depending on the time of year. In the summer, it's more like a summer-oriented playground, and we have play structures and straw bales to jump on and tube slides to go down. And then in the fall, when we kind of get to our harvest festival time of year, then we have other attractions like some bounce houses and maybe some small carnival rides that are there for the big fall event, because that's really our main event is the fall time.
Right.
So and then in addition to that, we have a train that you can ride on the train, and that becomes part of the playground experience. And then on the weekends, we do food trucks. So it kind of really expands in the fall time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's amazing. Because I remember our kids used to love, there was like a barn with all kinds of like corn kernels.
Yeah.
Almost like a sandbox, but not so dirty. Yeah. Which is perfect for mom.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of getting ready to rebuild a larger corn bin because that was such a popular attraction. So we're working towards building a bigger, larger one at the moment. So that's in the plans.
Well, that is very cool. And I also wanted to talk about the goats. Okay, so you guys have the very unique thing of it's like, I don't want to call it a bridge or whatever it is that the goat gets up on top of.
The catwalk.
The catwalk,
Yeah.
yes.
That's one of the cool things that people love at the winery. They sit out on the deck of the winery and they watch those goats climb all over there. And people can feed them. There's feeders, and we have like a rope, and you pull the rope up, and it dumps the feed up on top of that goat walk, and the goats go scrambling up there. And the folks at the winery just laugh and laugh watching those goats. And it's kind of a unique perspective to have on farm life for sure.
Cool.
That's right, because we haven't even touched on the winery. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so the winery, we began in 2009, and recently we added a brewery to the operation. And it's a conglomeration collaboration between my brother and another gentleman who's a longtime partner of ours, Will Cartwright. And my dad started the winery. And then started out in the market, just a few seats, a small area. And then after a few years, it expanded into our building that's now in the front there of the farm market, the white building. And then just last year, Will was really excited about getting into brewing. So the cool thing is that anything that can be made comes from our farm. So if it's a wine or a fruit flavored beer, it's all from our farm. I mean, there's a few ingredients you can't get. Certain types of grapes don't grow in this area, but we try to specialize in having those specific fruit flavors. And just recently they came up with a donut flavored beer. So I'm interested to taste that one.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
That is so unique, and it's so nice that you guys have so many different types of foods and snacks and treats to get there. And I know you mentioned at the beginning that you guys have runs during the year. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask a little bit about that, like your hard cider run and how those work.
Yeah. So our first run coming up this year is the hard cider run. That's usually during strawberry season, and that kind of kicks off our beginning of the year. And it's a 5K run, and they go through the orchards and through different parts of the farm, which is kind of special because you get to see as you're running along this route all different parts of the farm. So, and you go through the woods, you go through the cornfield, you go through the apple trees, through the blueberries, through the raspberries. So it's kind of like a running tour of the farm. And then at the end, you get a glass of hard cider, which is pretty fun. And the pumpkin run happens in September. And it's a similar type of run, only this time it's a pump. You could carry, we have it's called the tough pumpkin, and you carry your pumpkin as you're running.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And then and some people don't want to carry the pumpkin, but that's the fun. You see people running with them over their heads and, like this, trying to run. And at the end they get a glass of regular sweet cider.
Wow.
Well, those are great traditions.
Yeah.
And we certainly know plenty of runners, and there's lots of runs around, but that's the first one I've heard of running with a pumpkin, or even to be able to have a tour of a
very farm-themed event for sure.
Yeah, it's so often you go to the runs, you're like, some of the locations are really good, but that's a unique location.
Right.
And it's almost like a cross-country type run, so you're not on roads.
Correct. And it's all through the orchards, so it's up and down the hills. It's through the woods. I mean, it's very natural in the environment there. So I think, it's another connecting back with being outdoors and being in nature and seeing the seasonal changes as you go through. So I think it's pretty special.
Great. I would have to agree with you. Yeah, because I didn't even, that's why I love having guests on here, because it's things we can learn about.
Sure.
We've gone there so many times. I didn't even know this was out there.
Yep.
So in terms of what other events? Was there a beer bash that I heard something about maybe? Or?
Yeah, recently we had a Meet the Farmers event at the winery. We do quite a few events through the winery. So, and we have our beer bash is definitely coming up. That's a spring event as well. But we do several Meet the Farmers throughout the year. And then each of those things has a theme to it. So we try to educate people about how do we make cider? How do we care for the trees? How do we bring apples in from the field and process them and get them ready for sale? And so we try to use this as a connection to the community so that we can educate people about how we do things on the farm and so that they can understand all of the different angles and aspects to bringing crops from all the way through the spring to customers. And again, it's going back to connections. I think that's one thing that we really try to do is to connect with everyone. And whether it's field trips with young kids or having a beer and talking about farm life with older folks,
Yeah.
And so it's cool to have the community come in and talk with us about the farm.
Yeah. I mean, that's the neat part is it's really broad appeal then.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't understand how labor intensive fruit picking and farming is, because it's a unique aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It truly is a year-round operation. During the wintertime, there is still care that has to go on with our trees. They have to be trimmed. They have to be cared for. And then, during the spring and the summer, during bloom, there's special care. A lot of it has to be done by hand. And that's one thing I think people don't realize is when they think of farming, they think it's all mechanized. Yeah. But especially with fruit and tree crops, a lot of it has to be done by hand. So it is a labor-intensive crop. And it's never ending. It's a never ending cycle. You don't really get time off from taking care of the trees, especially if you are producing for a commercial operation. So it's a year round, and we have about 15 year round employees that are always caring for different various crops around the year.
Great. Well, we appreciate all of your efforts for sure. And these are things we don't even realize. I know we were talking about it for a hot minute there, but one of our clients, Andrea, works for you. And I didn't realize she's a bug expert.
She's a bug expert. So she is a trained bug scout. She was trained by Michigan State University. And she comes out to our farm every week, beginning in the end of April, all the way through the end of August. And she traps bugs and keeps track of all the different types of bugs that are in our environment at the orchard. And then that way, if we have an overinfestation of a specific type of bug, we can target that specifically. And we try to use natural methods whenever possible. And that's the purpose of the Bug Scout, because if you can catch an infestation before it begins, you can use more natural methods to control it versus trying to use, harsh chemicals or something like that.
Right.
And so it's a program through Michigan State University called Integrated Pest Management. And she is an absolutely huge, important part of doing that. And it's really been fascinating the last few years how many more natural types of things that they have come up with to help control pests. We use something called pheromone replacement, which is like a smell, and the smell will only attract one gender of bug. So it only has the females or only has the males. And then that disrupts the mating process. And if you disrupt the mating process, then you don't have damage. And you can do that using natural methods, which it's really fascinating.
Wow.
Because, and having Andrea be a part of that keeps us on the cutting edge of, what the most current and natural methods are. So it's wonderful.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
I mean, that's a win-win all the way around. 'Cause everybody wants,
Right.
especially in their food, for things to be natural.
Yeah.
And with having a land-grant university right here that does all that kind of stuff and so much education, that's got to help out.
It does, for sure. Yep. And our farm is actually a farm that professors and extension agents come out to visit because we have such a wide variety of crops. Most farms are just only one or two crops, where we have so many different types of crops, different varieties within those crops. So, and we're kind of the main one in Southeast Michigan for them to visit to see all of them in one place.
Wow.
That's quite a distinction. You should be very proud.
Thank you.
And I know you even for your cherries, do you have different varieties of cherries there as well?
Yeah, yes, we sure do. We have tart cherries, which are the ones that you would use for baking. And then, of course, there's different varieties of tart cherries within that. And then we have our sweet cherries, too, which we have 6 or 7 different types of sweet cherries. And those are the ones that you would eat, and when you think of the Up North Cherry Festival, that's the sweet cherries that are here on our farm.
Wow.
Now, what's your favorite fruit that you guys grow personally for each of you?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one.
I think our pears.
Yeah. Oh, the pears are so good.
They are. They're so good. And Grandma Spicer cans pears.
Yeah.
Pears and peaches. That's a huge...
Every Christmas we get them. For me, I like the different types of apple varieties, but I'm very picky. So we have a new one that's coming in. Last year was the first year we had, I think, maybe 2 crates of them. It was the Kinder Crisp, and it was a small apple, but oh my gosh, it tasted like a Jolly Rancher. It was so good, and it's called a Kinder Crisp. It's kind of an up and coming variety, and we planted more after they came in because they were so good. So I don't know. I just like really to get into the individual flavors of the different apple varieties.
Because there's so many when it comes to apples. It feels like over the years it's really developed.
We have 70 to 80 different varieties of apples on our farm.
Wow.
So a lot of times, when you come into the market, you might see, that it's a Fuji. Well, there's probably 10 different varieties of Fuji. And then, you have your summer apples, and then you have your early fall apples, and then your regular fall apples, and the late fall apples. Right. And so there's just so many different types. And I think that to me is the funnest part is seeing how they're different and how the flavor changes. And it's kind of amazing how Mother Nature plays a big part in changing those flavors, depending on how much rain we get, depending on what happened during bloom. If we had some sort of frost event or something like that, all can impact the quality and the flavor of the fruit that you end up with in September and October.
Wow.
So the moral is come every year and try all of them.
Yeah. And if you get a Honeycrisp this year, it might taste a little bit different next year just because the growing conditions changed from year to year. So, and a lot of people ask about like Washington apples versus New York apples versus Michigan apples. And that's what makes Michigan so special is the soil and the climate in Michigan is very unique. And so Michigan apples have this stunning flavor that you don't necessarily get in other regions of the country. So it's very, very big tradition here in Michigan to go apple picking because of that special climate that we have here. The Great Lakes, they do it.
Yeah. So a lot for us all to be proud of, really.
Sure.
Michigan is so wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool. Now, I know you guys have a corn maze as well. I was on your website, and I saw the video where you had the spicers in the maze.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, I have to give kudos to my brother Matthew on that one. So he started making corn mazes back in the 1990s. And our first one was just like, it just said Spicer. And he just did it to see if he could do it for fun. And oh my gosh, it actually like turned out like he drew it. And then from there, he just every year he comes up with a theme. He maps out the field. He like sketches it on paper. And then he takes like a GPS on a lawnmower and he goes out there and mows the pathways, and it always comes out exactly how he drew it. It's I'm so impressed with him. Like he's got a talent there for sure. And it's so cool. Like over the years when we had a customer that flew over in a balloon and then sent us the picture of the corn maze. This was before drones, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we had one that flew over in a plane and then sent it to us. So a lot of our early corn mazes, like we didn't know if they turned out until we had a customer or somebody send us a picture of it. So it's really, really astonishing that he can do. He's an amazing engineer. I could go on and on about all the cool things that he has developed on our farm for sure.
That is so neat that within your family, that so many of you guys have different talents. And I mean, this is just what like a family business should be. Like how fantastic.
Yeah, you bet.
Yep. And I know we've seen your mom on the tractor.
Yeah.
She has a whole like story almost the way she asked them to start the tractor up.
Bessie?
Bessie?
Betsy.
Betsy.
Yeah, come on, Betsy.
Yes.
Yeah,
the kids love that.
Oh yeah, and Betsy's still chugging away at our farm, and my mom is still doing her field trips. She, she's getting up there, but that's her passion. She started doing. She was a teacher way back in the 60s, and then when my brother was born, she stayed home, and so she started doing the field trips, and she's been doing them for almost 50 years now. Maybe it's more than 50 years now. And she loves doing it, and she will not give it up to anybody because it's her favorite thing of the year.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah.
How cool.
I feel that you guys have like so much going on. And every time we go there, there's certain things that you want to go to that you've been at before, but it's always a little bit different every time you go. And it's just such a fun experience. And again, when you talk about the memories, that you have families going there and they remember when their kids were 2 and 3 and doing it, and now they're teenagers, or then they're adults, or you've been around so long, it's people bringing their kids or their grandkids.
Yeah, that's true. We've had some really cool stories from over the years where people came back. They came as kids, they brought their children, then they came back as grandparents, and we've even had some really interesting stories of people who were maybe in the hospital and were given a certain amount of time before they they were going to be gone, and they had one day to go somewhere, and they came to our farm, and but then they made it. And so though we've had many stories like that over the years, and so then they made it a tradition every year to come to our farm on kind of the anniversary of this, event that they had gotten through together as a family. And again, I go back to that connection with nature. I think coming out to the farm and being outside and being amongst the trees and the beautiful setting and the location, it just gives you a sense of serenity that you have a hard time finding anywhere else. And so I think that's the real thing that brings people back, is that connection to the land.
Absolutely. It's great. And the nice part is, even when it's crowded in the fall, I've always found where I felt like I had more than enough room.
Yeah.
There's places to go
You
and
can
walk
spread
around.
out.
And-
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we worked really hard over the years to try to spread things out a little bit in the fall, because it's really a challenge, because in the winter, it's quite slow in the winter and even in the spring. So then how do you go from being so slow to being so big and make it so that it's maneuverable all times of the year? And so by spreading out our operation, we've tried to handle those kinds of situations. So now you could typically see traffic jams maybe at the bakery, or maybe getting onto the wagon, but outside of those areas you can get off onto your own space and kind of be one with yourself in those areas.
Absolutely. And even in terms of the shop itself, I mean, it's cute because you guys have these little gift things, and and certainly when we go to buy the donuts, we kind of walk in there. So Kalan, why don't you tell us more about that?
Yeah, we have all the goodies inside. We have fudge, ice creams, jams, jellies, butters, salsas, dressings, all the sweet treats inside too. I have to say my favorite is the Honeycrisp apple butter. So I recommend you guys try it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we have some gift items in there as well, but
I'm all about the popcorn.
oh yes.
I have popcorn from the orchard every night. I'm not too ashamed to admit
We
that.
also have crack in a sack, which is like a caramelized corn puff. Its name gives it to you. It's crack in a sack. It's delicious. Delicious.
And that's all made in our bakery
Yep.
at the farm. And then, of course, the fudge. Oh, my gosh, the fudge.
Yes.
We have over 80 different types of fudge in the fall time.
Wow.
And we just line our counter with just whatever you can think of fudge, you can make it. So we try to offer unique, because you can go to fudge shop and get chocolate or chocolate walnut, but then to get something like camouflaged jalapeno or maple bacon or something that dark chocolate caramel toffee sea salt, or so we try. And then we have our apple cider fudge, and we have our cherry fudge, and they're all made from our fruits. If it's a fruit fudge, it's made from our fruit. So it's really cool, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know so many, like when we go in there, we're coming in for cider and donuts, because that's what you're like, I need my hot, warm donuts, right?
Yeah.
But you always come out with something more than that.
Yeah. It's a lot of times the donuts are gone before you even hit the door, because especially if you get them when they're hot like that, people just right out of the bag right there, just because they're irresistible. It's that's one thing that we pride ourselves in, is we always try to have a hot or a warm donut. So we try to make them on demand. And sometimes that's why you end up seeing a line in the bakery, is because we don't make them all night or anything.
Right.
Like, they're not cold.
They're fresh.
They're literally coming out as you are walking up. And so that's one of our things that we pride ourselves in, is trying to provide a fresh, whether it's a fresh apple or a fresh donut or fresh cider, it's all being made right there at the time that you're visiting.
That is wonderful. That's why it tastes so good. No one.
Right.
And we had it was a trunk or treat that we had been sponsoring, and it was a matter of like, if we're gonna get cider and donuts, like, well, where else would we get it? Yeah. So I made him drive up to Spicer's just to pick them up, and that was like the hit of everything. Like, everybody was like, "You have Spicer's donuts?" Like, on second thought, like, I wasn't gonna have any, but I think I'm gonna get a change from that now.
And we have a new donut product coming out this year. We haven't quite launched it yet, but strawberry season, you'll start to see something. It's a Spicer bite, It's a tray of 6 mini donuts, and then it'll have toppings on it. So we'll have a cookies and cream, and it'll have chocolate sauce and cookie crumble and a special sugared flavoring, that a secret, recipe there. Or we'll have salted caramel explosion or cookie extreme. And so we have a new donut product coming out. I'm kind of excited about getting that one going, and I hope people fall in love with it as much as I have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. See, and it's neat because some of these things I've known about, and there's other new things too. So I'm so excited. So for those listening that are familiar with you guys, then I bet they've learned some too today.
That's one thing that's pretty special about being a family business, is that we're always thinking of ideas and trying to improve and make things better. And each year, whether it's a new donut flavor or an addition to the playground or an added variety of apples or something, there's always something new going on. So even though it's an old tradition, we try to keep up with the times and make it interesting, so there's something new to see each year.
Yeah, you guys do a great job keeping it fresh.
And I think of all those, I know how busy you guys are in the fall, and people think of going to get cider and donuts around Halloween, right?
Yeah.
But there's something to come out for you guys every month of the year.
Pretty much, yes. Yeah. So it's busy. It starts getting busier in June when strawberries start. That's our first crop of the season. And then we have cherries, and then we have peaches, and then we have raspberries. And so we have all of our summer crops. So each month of the summer is a different crop. So if you come in June, it'll be different than in July, or different than August. And then you get into September and October, and then we have our apples and pumpkins. But then we also have our Santa experience. So we have a Santa visit where you can come, and we have a train ride where you get on like the Spicer Polar Express. Aww. And you ride out to a cabin in the woods, and Santa and Mrs. Claus are out in the cabin in the woods. You go out in groups, and the family visits Santa kind of privately in his cabin, and then there's a bonfire and things like that back there. And then when you come back to the market, a cider and donut is included. So, and then last year we added our Santa's gingerbread barn, which also is a train ride out to a different location. So, that kind of extended our season into the Christmas time. And, it kind of started with when my kids were little, I wanted to take them to a Santa. And it was very hard to find an experience beyond just Santa at the mall or Santa at the fire station. And I really wanted to have a cool experience. And from there, we kind of built it into our Santa that we have today. Yeah. We are open year round. So even in January, February, March, April, the winery is still open with our events, and we have game nights and, drink glass decorating and all different things in the winter too.
How fun.
Yeah.
That is so neat. So out of curiosity, how many acres does it span?
So our Heartland farm is 300 acres, all contiguously together there in the corner of Clyde and Heartland Road. But we also have a farm in Linden where we grow apples, and we bring the apples from Linden and to sell in our market in Heartland. So altogether, about 340 acres total. Yeah.
Great. No,
that is amazing.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
And I know you had mentioned, what happens with each season. I remember always going to your website, and you guys were always very good at updating things, and sort of, because obviously with the seasons, it shifts quite a bit.
Absolutely. So our website is spicerorchards.com, and we update it daily during our picking seasons so that customers can know what the picking conditions are. So if it's early season, it might be lighter picking conditions, or if it's like prime peak season, it's great conditions, or towards the end of the season, it might be lighter. So you can always check out our website to see what we are currently picking, what the picking conditions are at that time, and what activities and events are going on the farm.
Excellent. That's great.
And I would say to people with kids out there, even at 2-3 years old, it is a great event. They will pick till they get tired, and it is work, but they're loving the work, and to just get that little basket and to see that accomplishment that this is what they picked and this is their fruit. And they're going to eat their fruit because they picked it.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah. and maybe they'll help when they get home a little bit with, getting them ready for whatever pie you're going to bake or jam or jelly you might be trying to preserve. So for sure.
Yeah, and it's easy enough. So when someone gets there, they just go inside and let you know that they want to go picking. Is that kind of how?
Yeah, so when you arrive, it varies during the season. In the summer, we have a weigh station out front. So you check in out front, you hop in on the wagon, you get your picking containers, and you head out to the fields for picking. And then when you come back, we weigh up the fruit, and then you go in the market and pay for it in there. But in the fall time, we move our picking to our pick your own barn. And that's where you will get your apple picking containers and head out on the wagon from the pick your own barn. So it just depends on the time of year and kind of the level of busyness at that time. So, but yeah.
That's good. And you can just show right up, right? You don't have to call in advance or anything.
No,
or just
Yeah, just come on out. That's right. No tickets in advance. Just come on out. If it's a busy fall weekend, it's going to be busy from 11 to 4. But if you come first thing in the morning, you'll have the place to yourself.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, what are the hours?
Yeah, so typically our hours are 9 to 7 during our main picking seasons. It changes a little bit in the wintertime, but typically from 9 to 7.
So no, we've covered a ton of great information. Is there anything that we missed about Spicer's Orchard that we should talk about?
Touch on, yeah.
I think the thing that is the heart of what we do is the family aspect behind it, whether it's our family of spicers or whether it's families that are coming to the farm. And I think we hit on that pretty well, but I think that is absolutely the key to our business and to what makes it such a good part of the community. And maybe that's the thing I really need to talk about.
Yeah.
Is we do like to be a part of the community. So we often do sponsorships, we often do donations and things like that, especially in the fall time, to teachers groups and church groups and all kinds of things. And that's a lot of the way that we try to kind of give back to our community is through our donation process. So that's something that I think is really important for businesses to partake in. And sometimes it's not always like there's not a big banner that says, "Oh, this was donated by Spicers." Yeah. But I think that we do a lot of it behind the scenes, and so I feel like that's a good connection with the community.
Well, that's definitely appreciated and nice to hear that you guys just do such wonderful things in our community. And it is so exciting to find out so much more today. And hope our listeners learn some things as well.
Yeah. So if someone's looking to find out more information about you guys, again, what's your website? And do you guys have Facebook or Instagram, social media?
So our website is spicerorchards.com. We are on Facebook, so definitely come on over, give us a like, check out what we have going on. And you can always give us a call and get any upcoming information of events, picking conditions as well.
Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. This was very educational, and you guys are such a great part of our community.
Well, thank you.
You really, really are. The memories and just the people in it. Everybody knows Spicers, and if they don't yet, they need to.
Right.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate being a part of this community and being in Livingston County and all of the support that people have shown over the years. So we are grateful for where we live, and we're happy to meet everybody. Come on out.
Yeah, no, we would say to everybody, come out there, any time of year, go out there, get your cider and donuts, hit the corn maze. I know people love the corn maze. They love going out on the wagon, all of the different things. The winery. And I have to try out some. Yeah, I need to try out some donut beer now.
Yeah, there's so much. I think that there's a lot of reasons to make it out there. So definitely put that on your schedule for this year.
Yep. So thank you guys so much for listening. And welcome to Livingston.